it really gave me a whole bunch of new hope and really put me on a completely different trajectory. Driven Mofos, welcome back to another episode of The Underestimated Entrepreneur. Personal development, it's the game changer. I get asked so often, what's been the biggest thing in my life that has changed everything? I always get asked, what's the best book you've read? How do you make more money? How do I improve my business? How do I improve my relationship? How do I get better health or something like that? They're common questions. But I also get asked, what was the one thing that changed everything for you? Now, I really think it comes down to a couple of key moments, and we all have these key moments in our life. When I'm working with coaches or when I'm working with business owners and we're talking about branding, these 3 parts or 3 to 4 parts are probably the most crucial thing that you need to think through and figure out. So the first thing really is, what is the biggest, most impactful thing that's happened in your life? And you need to have clarity around that because it probably drives a lot of your behavior. So for me, mine was when I was 15, I got expelled from school. And when I got expelled from school, I was in trouble at home a lot and I was in trouble at school. And I fell into this massive downhill spiral. And I realized that a lot of the people that I went to school with, I didn't really have a good connection with. I grew up around adults. My parents were 17 and 19 when they had me. Even when I was in high school, my parents were like, 30, right? Which is crazy, right? I'm in high school and they're 30. There was this big age gap between my parents and everybody else's parents. So every weekend we would go away and we would go away partying up in the Riverland. And so I always grew up around adults. One of Dad's friends was the Australian junior rally champion. So I grew up racing cars. They literally had a block of land that we used to race cars on. And I learned how to drive from the Australian rally champion. We used to have dirt bikes, so we'd go dirt bike riding. We had Dad's friends and stuff had boats and whatever, so we'd go water skiing. I grew up wakeboarding, and then my parents ended up saving up and they bought a shack. But that was very different from most other kids growing up. It wasn't very common. And so when I went to school, the other kids played soccer or football or, some other sport, basketball. And I wasn't in those groups, so I found it very, very hard to fit in. Also, I had red hair, freckles, and I was a bit chubby as well. I was friendly with everybody, but I just didn't have a place. I never really got invited around to hang out with people. And so it made it really, really difficult for me when I got expelled because I just realized I didn't have a place. And so I wanted to end my life. Now, my key learning in that really made a massive difference in my life was realizing that other people can't determine my value. My value comes from within myself and what I think about me. So that was my first big turning point. The next one was my best friend's 3-year-old niece being killed in a car accident. I spent a lot of time with him. I wasn't friends with him at school. His parents actually were up in the Riverland as well. And so we used to hang out on the weekends when we'd go away. But because he was in different schools, he was sort of over the other side of the city. We very rarely got to hang out apart from up in the Riverland. And so when his niece passed away, that was huge for me because it was like the first real big impactful death. Now, my great grandmother died when I was young and I was close with her, but this one was really close. It was a friend that I spent a lot of time with on the weekends with his family. I would go to their place that they had and they would come to my parents' shack. And so I spent a lot of time around him and his family. So I was quite close to his sister, whose daughter it was, and things like that. So it hurt a lot. And I just remember seeing this little white coffin going into the ground thinking, how can life just be taken away just like that? And so that was probably the second most impactful thing that happened in my life. Now, my realization in that moment was I had a couple of questions that popped into my mind as a coffin was going into the ground. And it was, what's the purpose of my life? Why do I exist? Why am I here? And how do I want to be remembered when I'm not here? Those questions drove me for a fair period of time until I got clear with my purpose and my mission. Hence why now teaching you to create your success map at my Thrive Time event is such an important thing for me because I know that is probably one of the greatest personal development events on the planet. That came about because of being unclear and feeling lost in life and not really taking my life seriously to the extent at which I do now, where I go hard and I push and I enjoy the growth and the energy and the people that I meet and so on. I'm pretty enthusiastic because I love the life that I've created because I'm clear on what I want. And I think that when most people don't have that, that becomes a huge problem. So that's the reason why that event was really created. And then the third most impactful thing, which was a better one, was my girlfriend had left. I was lying on the bed at my parents' house. So I'd moved back in at home with my parents. I used to clash with my mum, so we didn't get along. And I was under a ton of stress. Financially, I was broke. Life sucked. I was actually working full-time as a PT, but I was working 2 jobs. So I had my first job and then I was working a second job running some like boot camps and things like that. That was around that time. So I was burnt out and I was drinking all the time and I'd go out every weekend partying. I know now looking back, I had chronic fatigue because I was diagnosed with that later, or I was told I had chronic fatigue from a medical doctor later down the track. That moment, I realized that something had to change and I invested in my first personal development product, which was an audio set, an audio box set. From that moment, even though I couldn't afford the audio box set because I had to make a decision whether I was going to put fuel in my car in the morning, which meant that I would get to work, or I would buy this audio box set, which I had no idea whether it would even work or not. I'd never invested in anything like that before. But I made the decision to get out of bed at 4 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever time it was. Actually, I think it was about 2. Get up, walk to the phone, pick up the phone and call an international number, which I knew my mum would skits out about because it was probably expensive back in the day, and invest every cent that I had. Like it maxed out my card and I had to borrow money to put fuel in the car in the morning. So that decision there was really the game changer. That's what changed my life, because after that, I got the audio box set and I realized that my mindset impacted every area of my life. And I remember walking down the street, listening to this audio box set, not really understanding the first CD. And it asked a question, what are you grateful for? And I couldn't even find anything that I was grateful for at least the first couple of days. And then what ended up happening was I remember walking along the exact spot. I stopped and I realized that I had legs and that there are other people out there who don't have legs and can't walk. That was my first experience of gratitude. Before that, I'd never even heard of the word gratitude. I didn't know anything about it. I was so ignorant to the fact of the power that your mindset plays to everything. And I would say that I listened to that audio set for probably like 3 years straight. That and The Secret. A friend of mine who was a multimillionaire, he gave me this CD and on there it had The Secret written on, like in, back in the old days when you burn a DVD, you'd have to write it in Texter. It was written on there in Texter, The Secret. And I had no idea. And he said, here, watch this. It will change your life. And I was like, whatever. I remember putting it in and they talk about, change your mindset, change your life. Like if you think it, it'll happen. And I started watching it and I was like, well, it sort of makes sense, but I didn't really get it. I reckon I watched that at least 100 times over a 12-month period. And I listened to the audio products most days that I could. And slowly my mindset started shifting. Now I look back, I'm like, holy crap, I can't even believe the person that I was back then. I can't believe how I used to think. I can't believe how I used to behave. I can't believe that I would get a paycheck, blow 100% of my paycheck on rent, a car to look good, and alcohol. And I would have just enough money for food. And sometimes I wouldn't even pay my rent, but I would still buy alcohol, right? That's how much of a dropkick I was back then. And looking back now, I'm like, man, it's where a lot of people start from, right? That's why I have so much respect for my community and the people who do my products and programs, because I know that the starting point is a squeeze. Like I didn't have the money to buy that audio product. If I logically sat there and thought through it and thought I got $230 in my bank account, it's $229 for this audio program, or I have to make a choice to drive to work tomorrow, which pays the bills. What do? And I decided to invest in the audio product and not get to work so I could pay bills. That's a pretty ballsy decision. Now, some of you who are listening to this have made ballsy decisions like that, and you've invested in personal development and personal growth over other shit that you would rather be doing. That's a huge credit to you. That shows that you believe in yourself. Like I look back now and I go, there was something in me that night where I watched and I thought life can be better. I can do so much more with my life. Now, I'd been thinking that for years. I just didn't know where to start. And I was just at a low enough point that I went, you know what, something has to change. And that thing was on TV and I went, bang, I have to do something. And sometimes it's those split-second decisions that change everything for us. And that's why I want to share it, because there are so many people out there who know that things have to change. Whether it's their business that they're going around in circles, maybe you're stuck, maybe you've got poor management, maybe you're just a poor manager. Maybe your communication skills are poor and your relationships are falling apart, or your intimate relationships struggling. Maybe you're struggling as a dad or a mum and you don't know how to handle your kids because you feel like you're lost. Maybe you're not in the career you want. But what I know is that wherever you are, personal development is the answer. And it seems odd because there's always going to be some shithead that sits there and goes, yeah, but what about this one circumstance where that doesn't apply? There's only 2 things that change our lives, really, that change the course of the direction in our path. It's a shift in our mindset, or it's a shift in our skill set. Now, you and I know there are plenty of motherfuckers out there who are extremely skilled and highly competent that don't get anywhere in life. And you've got to ask the question, why not? I have people every week on my social media having a crack at me going, well, you're not qualified to speak about this, so you don't fuck. And they know nothing about me. The problem is that they're jealous because you've got this guy who supposedly has no university qualification, who has changed the lives of thousands of people, thousands, who has had tens of thousands of people sign up to his programs, come to events, come to seminars, hear him talk, tens of thousands. And he is opening up all these opportunities and turn his life around. I would be pissed at that too if I'd gone to university and spent 100 grand on a university degree and all it did was buy me an 80K a year job with 4 weeks holiday a year, superannuation or a retirement fund, and I fucking hate it and I'm trapped and I'm stuck. But I've also gone out, got married and had kids and I can't leave my job because my family relies upon me. That's a tough place to be. It's also a tough place to be if you're up in the mines and you're earning $150,000, $200,000 a year. And at the same time, you've got a lifestyle. You're married. Maybe you've got kids as well, but you've also got all these overheads, all these debts, right? You're drinking. Maybe you're using drugs. Maybe you're partying too much. Or maybe you just blow so much cash, you actually don't even know where your money goes. Like being in that position sucks also. And it's hard because you've got the skill sets. Right, if you've got the skill set to earn money and you're not getting to where you want to get to, it's probably your mindset that's the broken thing. Most people think that if I can go learn more, like one of the things that they try to teach in the university system is that they reinforce this idea that the more educated you are, the higher up you go. But that only works in so many hierarchies, only a few hierarchies. One of them is the university system. So if you start off as a shit kicker in the uni, and then you eventually work up, you might become a professor or something like that. And now you've got all these accreditations and you might earn a little bit more. That's cool. In a government department, you can start off as a shit kicker. And if you get more highly educated, you can move up the ranks. But if you're self-employed, your PhD or your education has nothing to do with business ownership in most cases. It might in the employment part or it might in the product and the service. But that very rarely has anything to do with how to lead people, how to manage yourself, how to overcome harsh adversities that consistently happen. How do you deal with consistent people problems? How do you deal with consistent cash flow problems? Because there's always them when a business is growing. So how do you deal with all that? It doesn't develop the character of someone who's going to crush it in life. So that's a mindset issue. Most people have a skill set, but don't have the mindset to get where they want to. And that's why some people in their industry just massively outperform them. There are builders out there who are making $100 million a year. And there are builders out there who can't even pay their staff or are self-employed. Same with electricians, same with doctors. There's all these fields where most of the field is getting crushed by a very small group of individuals who just have a different mindset. Now, you can have a great mindset, right? There are plenty of people out there who have a great mindset, but they just haven't developed the skills. That's very rare though. I meet more people who have a great skill set but a poor mindset and it prevents them from getting anywhere. So what I really wanted to talk about on this episode was the power of personal development. And I get asked like, why am I so enthusiastic? Like, why do I believe in this shit so much? The reason is that when you have 3 life events like that, it's probably also the reason why I'm a bit harsh with people. Like I don't really have time for people who want to fuck around and waste time in life. And it probably has a lot to do with my best friend's 3-year-old niece dying. I feel like most people are given the gift of life and they fucking waste it. Right? That's like me giving you, $100,000 and you literally using it as firewood. Right? You put it in a fire just to keep yourself warm for a 24-hour period. And then afterwards you're like, fuck, I could have actually like bought a heater and have shit tons of money left over. Like it's just stupid. I think that most people in life live a stupid life where they just torch their own life and don't even know what they enjoy. They chase pleasure. They chase momentary gratification. That's why most people drink on the weekend, party on the weekend, all that sort of shit. But that's not long-term fulfillment. Fulfillment comes from building something that's meaningful. Like as your kids grow up and you watch them and you overcome all their adversities, when they have these moments where they achieve something and you sit there and you're like, you know what? I helped build that. That's what life's really about, is those moments where you know that all the adversities and the hardships and all the hard work and effort that you put in, it amounts to those moments which give you the pride for your own life. You know that life's worth living for those moments. That's exactly what we should be searching for. But most people are too busy like, yeah, man, let's go and let's get pissed. How does that help you have more of those moments? It doesn't. Sitting there going, I can't wait to get home and watch like the latest episode of whatever's on TV. That does not help you get those moments. Overcoming adversity gets those moments. When you go to the gym and you lose weight and you look at yourself in the mirror and you feel better, you're like, I developed that. The effort, the adversity, the challenges, the stress, the pressure, the thinking, all of the stuff that you work hard on, which builds a better character. That's the stuff that makes life worth living. And most people avoid doing that because they're looking for momentary pleasure, gratification, happiness in the moment, and they just don't put in the effort to really live a life that's meaningful. And I think that there's part of me that resents those people because of my best friend's 3-year-old niece that never got a chance to live. Maybe that's why I'm such a prick sometimes to people. I'll put up with people's shit and them not trying in life for a period of time. But then there comes a point where I'm just like, you know what? Fuck you. There are people that are literally dying right now that are never going to have a chance to live, and they want to live. You're essentially destroying your life and you don't even take that shit seriously. Like, I don't take that as a joke. So maybe that's why I'm like that. I don't think that it's a good thing. I don't think that it's a bad thing, but I just think, I struggle with it. I really do. I really struggle with being patient with people, especially if they don't really want to grow and they don't really want to put in the effort, because I think I'm maybe potentially emotionally damaged from that part of my life. But at the same time, it also gives me the drive to want to live. It also has helped me inspire thousands of people. So it's part of my purpose and my mission. So I would never change it. But I think that it's just really important to share this. I also know that, if it wasn't for personal development and being scared and not knowing, but going with that unknown and going, life can be better and I got to try something different. And just trying it. I've done so many different courses and some of them are shit. But the thing is, now I know how to spot things that I know won't work or that aren't good. But I also know that there are so many things that I learned that is good. In fact, this year, I just signed up again for, you're probably sick of hearing me say how much money I've spent this year, but I think I dropped another about 16K US on the weekend to sign up with another coach in the US, which has now just led to me getting a podcast position in the US in September this year. So I'm off to the US to start to break into the US market. But I think that when you sit there and you're afraid and thinking that things won't work versus just going, you know what, I can be better, I can do better, I'm going to bridge that gap, and you just keep working on it. Money will come and money will go. You will waste a lot of money on the journey to creating more money. You will waste a lot of time on the journey to creating more free time. You'll waste a lot of relationships in order to learn out how to be effective in relationships. And I don't mean just intimate relationships. I mean friends, family, clients, all that sort of stuff. But that's part of the growth cycle. You have to be prepared to let all that go instead of sitting there beating the shit out of yourself because you did the wrong thing in one relationship or, you upset one person. Like, that's just silly. You got to keep moving forward towards the vision and the life that you know that you're capable of. So look, I really wanted to share this because when people ask me why is personal development so important, it really comes back down to those 3 reasons. It really does. It comes down to the fact that I almost tried to end my life when I was 15. And if I didn't have the realization that I needed to start doing things for me, and then having my best friend's 3-year-old niece die in that car accident and realize life can just be taken away in a split second and that you have to make the most of life because some people never will. And then finally buying a personal development program that really allowed me to understand that you can't live a great life with an average mindset. You can't have a high net worth with a low net worth bank account. Like, if your self-worth is dog shit, how are you going to create a great net worth? Like, self-worth and net worth are directly related because they're both based on value. If you don't perceive yourself as being valuable, then why the fuck would you have a lot of money? It doesn't make any sense. So everything relates back to the mindset thing. Like, if I'm working with someone in sales, I tell them it's skill set and mindset. 90% of salespeople are shit because they have the wrong mindset. You can give them the strategy, the call scripts, everything, and they'll still fuck it up. And you all know this, right? You all know this because you all work with people who are more talented, who are more gifted, who have better educations, and you probably outperform them. Why? Because you've got a better mindset. But if you're getting outperformed by people around you, then you've got to work on your mindset. Make sure you grab your ticket to my Thrive Time event and work on it. And if you haven't been working on it consistently, get back to work on it. I had someone on the weekend who reached out or who posted some shit on one of my pages. And he said something like, I know people who have gone to your events and, they're back in the same position. And I'm like, of course, because the dumb motherfuckers that didn't implement what I taught, which is this is a lifelong habit. You don't go to the gym, lose 20 kilos by exercising at the gym. And imagine this, you sign up for a personal trainer. You go to the gym, you go to the gym 3 times a week. You're walking every day, 7 days a week. You're eating clean, you're tracking your calories. And let's say you lose 20 kilograms, right? So you're losing 20 kilograms, you feel fucking fantastic. And then all of a sudden you go, you know what? I don't need a personal trainer anymore. I don't need to go to the gym anymore. And you stop doing it. What do you think logically is going to happen? We all know the answer, right? 99.999% of people are going to put back on the weight because they did something that worked and then they changed the fucking plan. Now, imagine getting into personal development. Like, you guys all listen to this podcast every day, hopefully, because you know that every day, if you can work a little bit more on your mindset and you can learn a little bit, or you can just keep tweak habits day after day after day, over a year, over 2 years, over 5 years, you'll be a completely different person, a better version of yourself, not a different person, more of yourself. You'll shed away all the shit that's not you. You'll get rid of a lot of the crap that holds you back. Now, yeah, I still have doubt. I still sometimes have thoughts and worries and stresses and concerns and shit, but I know how to change my mind because it's become a habit now. That habit's taken years, even decades to develop. But most people want to get something quick and then change the game plan. Now, if you go to an event, a personal development or a personal growth event, or you read a book and all of a sudden you're implementing something new and it starts working, and a month, 2 months you stop and you do something different and it's not working anymore, you already know that you're the fucking problem. You're the fucking problem because you're looking for fast tracks. You're always looking for shortcuts instead of realizing that you're the thing that makes the biggest difference. You. And that you always have to be working on you. A new tip, a new strategy, a new diet, none of that shit. None of that stuff makes a difference if you are the problem. You've got to keep working on you all the time. And I do self-development every day. And I know that there are not many people who have studied more in personal development, personal growth, psychology, mindset, even health. I've spent so much on health and health education. And I work with some of the best people in the country in the area of health, in the area of mindset, in the area of business, and so on. I hire them as my coaches. So I have access to all of this knowledge. I'm telling you right now, I still have times where I drop off the bandwagon. I still fuck up sometimes. I overeat food, but I get straight back on. I'm like, right, you messed up. Let's get back on. I don't change the game plan or let it go for like 10, 12, 15 weeks. Because if you do that, it destroys everything you've worked hard for. And so what I'm saying is, once you get in the habit of implementing personal development and personal growth, keep doing that shit. Don't do what this douchebag said on my social media. Like, oh, I know some people who came to your event and when I look at them, they're not getting any results. They were getting results. They just changed the fucking game plan. Instead of doing what I said, which is, if you need to track your calories, and if you look at a whole month, yeah, if you slip for 2 days, it doesn't really matter. But if you're doing great for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and then you go back to binge eating and eating shit food, of course you're going to put on weight. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to do that because you changed the fucking game plan that was working. The same thing happens with your personal development and personal growth. You need to set a game plan and stick to the rhythm of learning. Everything in life is a rhythm. This has been known for thousands of years. The Egyptians spoke about rhythm. The Greeks spoke about rhythm, the law of rhythm. Even rhythm, if you look at it, rhythm is really down to physics. It's frequency, because frequency essentially is a rhythm of oscillation, right? So we can go down to physics. Then you've got chemistry. Same thing, because chemistry is based on physics. Almost everything in the universe comes down to a rhythm. Even our day and night is a cycle or a rhythm. We know that every 24 hours we have a full cycle, a full, spin of the earth. That's a rhythm. We know that that happens every 24 hours. Right? We know the rhythm of the seasons. But what my point is that there is this rhythm. If you don't have a learning rhythm, if you don't have a rhythm with your eating and nutrition, if you don't have a rhythm with your exercise, if you don't have a rhythm with communication with people around you, then things create problems. It creates problems when things go out of rhythm. So don't expect to do one personal development event or read one book or listen to one podcast or one audio and have it change your life. It might completely change the direction, right? But you might change by 10 degrees. So you might change a lot in life. But if you don't keep up that consistency of learning and consistent growth, you'll just head back to where you were. So why do that? It's silly. Don't do that. But personal development is probably the greatest game changer. I would say that 80% of all success and achievement is mindset, and the other 20% is strategy. You can teach an idiot the strategy, but if they don't have the right mindset, they will screw it up. You can teach someone with the right mindset a shit strategy and they'll figure it out eventually and they'll get back on track. If I had a choice of taking someone with the right mindset or the right skill set, I'll take mindset any day of the week for an employee. If they have the right mindset and the openness to want to grow and develop and know how to problem solve, if they have that right mindset, they'll figure it out and they will win. Versus someone who has the right skill set and a stagnant, stuck mind, they will get torched. And this is why you find a lot of highly competent people in both business and work who feel entitled to results because they go, yeah, but I'm highly competent, highly skilled, but I'm getting my ass kicked. And they're pissed off and they're frustrated and they can't understand why. They can't understand why someone who's not as good is beating them. It's because the person who is beating you, they have a better mindset and they put in more effort and energy into learning or personal growth, or they have more self-awareness. Some people are just more talented mentally than others. I'm not like that. I've had to work so much on my mindset. Whereas I have other friends of mine that are like fucking geniuses and they're mentally highly adaptable and they've never done personal development. But their whole life is personal development because they just see the world in a completely different way. But they are very, very rare. Most people have to work on themselves. So that's why personal development is so important to me. That's why I love this game. That's why I push so many people to do it. Because if it wasn't for personal development, I would not be where I am. I would not have the audience. I would not have helped the amount of people. I would not have the relationship or the marriage that I have. I would not have the friendships and the connections and the global audience that I have now. I would not have the health that I have now. I would have nothing without personal development. I would have ended up probably a fucked alcoholic who hated his life, who was stuck in a job that I didn't enjoy and is going around in circles. Maybe I would have had kids and been married and had the white picket fence, but I definitely would not have been enjoying where I ended up. I would not have enjoyed it, right? I would have been bored. I would have been frustrated. I would have been tired and I would have been angry at myself. And then I would have taken it out on the world. So that's why I wanted to share Driven Mofos. Look, I hope you all have a great day. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Keep kicking massive goals. Keep working on your mindset. Keep listening to these podcasts. I really hope that if you haven't done Thrive Time, that you do it. Go to my website. There are 2 events left for this year. It is a game changer. I guarantee it. And should you just go back and keep doing what I teach in that event, if you just go through and implement the daily stuff that I teach, bam, I guarantee in 2, 3, 5 years, you'll look back at your life and go, shit, why didn't I do this back then? If you do it now, in 5 years' time, you'll look back and be like, holy shit, that changed the game. I'm a completely different person, a better version of myself. Versus going around in cycles and then getting stuck, which is what a lot of people do. And they reach out to me and they go, my life is shit. What do I do? And I say, come to Thrive Time. They say, I've been thinking about that for years. And then when they come, they say, I wish I would have done this years ago. So you have a choice, just get there. I give a money back guarantee that if you don't like the event and you don't get your values worth, I give you your money back. But I've never had to do it. I've never had to give my money back. But you have to be there for the whole 4 days and learn what I teach. And then after that, you say, I didn't get my money's worth, I give you your money back. But I've never had to do it. In fact, if anything, the most common thing that I get is I would have paid 10 times the amount for this product, this thing, because it's given me clarity. It's also put me in a community and a group of people who think differently. And it opens up a lot of doors and networks. Anyway, Driven Mofos, have a great day. Keep kicking ass, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of The Underestimated Entrepreneur. Most people waste their life, and I just don't want you to be one of them.